Okay, so what we need to do is when we are calling the method channel, we need to configure the channel that we are calling. Okay, first thing is that. So in order to do that, we'll be using something called Flutter configure Flutter engine override method. Since we have implemented the Flutter activity, or we are extending the Flutter activity, we will be getting this overrideable this overrideable configure Flutter engine method. Okay, so what we will get, what we will get on this section is that we'll be customizing and we'll be adding the endpoints or the channel to the Flutter engine. Okay, so we have a Flutter engine or Flutter channel in here. Now we're going to be introducing that channel within our Flutter method channels. Okay, so next thing what we'll be doing is, first of all, we'll call this its super function. So whenever we normally do, we need to override the super function. We need to call the super function out of it. So we have the execution in our hand. So next thing that we're going to do is we're going to say method channel Flutter engine dot executor binary messenger channel set content handler caller and results. So this is the method that will be executed when we are executing or when we are registering a channel. Okay, so this is invoked from the method itself. So it's not the implementation of this. It's just way of saying that I'm registering a method channel under this name, and this will be the calling place for that. Okay, so it's going to be the calling place for that. So we have registered our channel. This is our channel, and we haven't registered the method at all. We will be registering that one soon as well. So we need to import these things like we need to import method channels since we have used it in here. We need to install Flutter engine. So that's a dependency in there as well. Flutter activity. I think we have that already. Yes. Yeah, that's enough for now, I think. So next thing that we're going to be implementing is the implementation of the exact method. So this is like a registration part of the channel. Okay, we'll be listening into this channel, but sorry. So, but in this scenario, what we'll be doing is we'll be implementing the actual get battery level implementation. So I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this function. Do I have the format document? No. So I'm going to be implementing the get battery level method. Format this. Okay. So this is the exact method that we'll be using. So we have plenty of other imports need to do. So I'll put these things on top of it. So basically in this scenario, this is the implementation of get battery level. So it's going to be different implementation it will be different implementation method for iOS and Android. Even in Android, you have plenty of different ways to get the battery level itself. So you guys can see if the SDK version is more than Lollipop, this is the way. Otherwise, if you are in a very old version, you need to use this to get the battery level, the exact battery level. So that is like the implementation for get battery level. Okay, so remember the method that we have used in the method channel as well to get battery level. That is going to be the same as this battery level method that we'll be using. Okay, that is something we need to make sure. I mean, it is something like not something written in stone, but if we are calling the get battery level method from the platform invoker itself from the Flutter side, and we should have the implementation of that same name just to make less confusion. Okay, so even in here get battery level method is mentioned. I can name this one as X, but we need to do the mapping. Okay, we need to do the mapping and get that thing going on. So we need to do the mapping right around in this method. So what we are gonna do is we are gonna override something like this. If call dot method, that means when we are doing a method call, we get a call and we have a method. So this is the method that we are calling in here. And if I say if the called method equals to get battery level. So we will when we are running the Flutter engine, we will be having what we call a method call. Okay, this is something similar to this. What is this going on? And we will have a name for that. Okay, the method have a name, and we will check if the call method equals to get battery level. That means whoever we within this method channel. This is a channel, right? So within this channel, we can send plenty of other invokes. Not only get battery level, we can send get Wi-Fi signal, get current location, anything that you may come across, we can call multiple methods within the same channel. So we need to make sure if we call this method, we will get the corresponding one. If we call another method, we get a different result. So when we call and the called method equal to get battery level, then whatever that is reproducing in this Kotlin function right over here, that should be the one that we need to call. Okay. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna implement that. So we can say if the caller method is get battery level, then call this get battery level method from Kotlin and store it in the battery level. Okay, so that is the expectation. And we will do some validations in here. Something like this. We can say if battery level is -1, result success. Sorry, if battery level is not -1, that means if it is not returning -1 for some reason, uh, if the battery level cannot be completed or cannot be compiled, it's gonna the underlying operating system will return us -1. But anything other than that, say from 0, 1, 2, 3, whatever the battery level that we are getting, what we're going to do is we have a call method that means once this is called, the result will be sent by this callback method. We will call the callback method success method and we will call the battery level that we have got from this method. So we call the native Kotlin method. We store it in a variable called battery level. If that battery level is not equal to -1, we will send the result of success, knowing the battery level. If not, if something wrong, if it is -1, -2 or something like that, we can say unavailable, battery level is not available. That means there is something wrong with the code. We can't forward, or we can't think about it. And in other scenario, what we can do is, say for example, we have a method, something like this, but we haven't implemented that. Then what we need to do is, we can say the result method is not implemented. By looking at this, I think this code should be going around the if method that we have in here. Let me get it to format so it will make more sense. Do I have it here? If I don't have let me see if I can make it intelligent. I don't have intelligent dimension. Let me check whether I have Kotlin code format. It's not retrieving. Kotlin format, and we can have something. Let me install it and show you guys. It will be more easy. Easy to understand, like a book. Format document. You don't have a, it needs some things. Here linked. Okay, I think I need more and more. Let me check whether I can simply install it. If so, we can format this. Otherwise, we'll just leave it. I can who knows? Sometimes AI can help me. Oops. Oh, I don't have. I think I have all our installed. Code controls there. That's my BDC. Let me see if I can get simply by doing a brief install. So I can format this, otherwise this code looks really ugly and even I don't like to read it. Okay, so basically the idea behind in this scenario is, let me recap one more time. So we have a channel defined in here, and within that channel, we have to configure the Flutter engine. And we guys can remember we have something called Flutter engine, which is running on top of Android in this scenario. And in here, we'll be implementing the, we'll call this super method. And another thing that we're going to do is we're going to register our method channel. So we have a channel in here. We'll be registering that channel and try to get everything in line. Okay. So normally I would recommend to have like one channel within application. So you have multiple you have multiple methods that you can execute. Then you can using that multiple methods using that multiple methods, you can get desired output. So in this scenario, we have a caller and a result. Okay, so we have two different things. When a method calls is happening, we get who is the caller and what is the result that we're going to be sending back. So the caller has a method name. Okay, the caller has the property call method, which is the name of the method that we'll be calling. Okay, so we can check. Okay, the caller method equal to get battery level. Then we know what is the Kotlin code that we need to call. Okay, in this scenario, I will be calling this get battery level method in Kotlin. Okay, so this get battery level method, it is pretty much Android specific thing, how we can get this code within Android and we get the result back, or we can just fake it. Okay, but if you're using iOS, this is going to be the implementation is going to be something similar, but not the exact thing. But you can get the battery level from there. Okay, and we call the get battery level, and the battery level will have a method of more than -1. If it is more than -1, that is a clear indication of saying, okay, there is a value coming. Okay, the value is coming. That means if it is -1, there is something wrong, because you can't have -1 battery level. At least minimum should be 0, right? After 0, that means your battery is dead or something like that. So if you come to a level where the battery level is not -1, that means the result, we can say, success battery level. We can say send in the application, okay, the battery level, we got the battery level, and within the result, so this result function, or the variable is responsible for sending back the information, and we have a success method and we have an error method. So we are the person who is responsible for sending whether it is a success one or an error one. Since this is the success situation, that means the battery level is more than -1. We will be sending result success and the battery level that we got. Else, in this scenario, else we will get an error. We can say unavailable, battery level is not available, and cross now. So that means this is the tag and this is the message, and this should be the reference. So in a case, this is the one that we'll be doing. Let me try to format it at least without a formatter. Okay. So in this scenario, the else is belonging to this one. So if for some reason the method is not implemented, if the method is not implemented, we can say a result.method not implemented. That means even though you called it, even though we have received it, the method, how we gonna interact it, it's not there. So we can't execute anything. It's just way of saying, hey, even though you call the method, we don't have implementation for that. That's kind of like the way that we'll be sending a message to our application, that saying that even though there is a method, we don't have an implementation for it. Okay, hopefully this will work. And the intent is not like helpful for reading, but not for application. So this kind of thing would be enough. Let's see whether this is building, and make sure when you do such changes, when you do such Android level changes, we really need to compile it once again. Okay, so hot reloading in this situation might not be working as expected, because when we are hot reloading, we are reloading from Flutter side, the Flutter engine side, not the Android itself. Okay, so we need to make sure we rebuild the application and run. In that way, if we have anything related to Android errors or that kind of things, we'll get a notification. If not, it will just it will just not work. So make sure when we have done such a change in Android level, we need to compile it once again. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this again. Okay, it's not the hot reload, remember, it's running again. So it might take a little bit of time because now we are compiling the Android once again. But once it is done, um, once the compiling is like done, it will be pretty easy. Okay. I think we have an error. Main.live. Main.kt line 1742 unsolved reference none now. Let's see whether we have something like that. Main Kotlin and number 17 non-line. I think I have forgot to import this one. Non now. Okay, I think it is coming from Android X. Import. There you go. So make sure we run it once again. Any debugging errors are there. So we are launching. Okay. So unknown battery level. What I'm going to do is check whether I can click on this button. And you guys can see the battery level at 100%. It shows 100% because I think since I am running on my emulator, you guys can see the battery level is almost 100. Now, the demonstration in this scenario that I call the API and I got the battery level from underlying operating system, then I was able to get and run it. So what I can do is I can like retest this one because might be something false or something like not working. Maybe in a real application, we need to test whether, of course, if we reduce the battery level, is it going to show the same? Let me check. I think there was an option in here. If you click on the three dots in here, extended controls, you will get a UI. I'm not sure whether you guys can see it, but basically there is a section called battery, and I can reduce the battery level. I'll be reducing it for like 40. Okay, now the battery level is 40. Now you guys can see it is at 40, and if I do this control, it's automatically increasing in here. What I'm going to do is, since it's a simulator, I can reduce these things. Let me put it at 45. And within the Flutter application, let me get back, let me hit this retrieval button. Again, you can see battery level at 45%. Okay. So the main takeover from this section is that we'll be able to communicate with the underlying operating system or the platform, if you will. We can get information from here. We'll be using a method channel. From that method channel, we'll be getting that information, and we'll be calling in here, and the implementation for this. Okay, so we need to make sure we have a channel and we have a method. Okay, so in the Kotlin side, we have the same thing. We register our channel in here. If you guys can see, you can see method channel Flutter engine in here. We are calling. We are expecting the method channel to be listening into this channel. This is the channel. and method call handlers. So we can have multiple methods that can be calling in the application. So first thing is the caller, the second one is the result. So the caller will have a method. So this is the method that we are calling. You guys can see this is the same method we are using in here. And if the method name equals to this one, then what we'll do is we will call the native battery level method, which is written in Kotlin, and get the result back. And based on the result, if it is not -1, we will send a success message. If it is a -1 or something else, something that is not acceptable, we will send an error. Okay, this is the success. Okay, everything went smoothly. Here you go. And here is the version say, okay, something went wrong. We could not do that. Okay, this is the error message. So some reason, if you try to call a method that is not in here, the name is for some reason is there. We are calling a method, but that is not implemented in here. We can just simply have a else statement, and we can say a result method not implemented. That means it will call back and say, so even though you called a method, we do not have the implementation, sorry, we can't do it. So the method child will return something like empty section. Okay. So this is something interesting and useful when you're thinking about application development, Flutter across application development. Of course, there will be situations where like we have these kind of situations. There are no libraries, but we need to improvise. Okay, we need to make something of our own. So this is the perfect example. So one of the encounters that I had, it was related to iBeacons. Okay, so iBeacons is something a beacon controller that when you go near something like a Bluetooth device, you get some signals. But there were no iBeacon plugin at the time I was writing. I'm talking about like 5 years ago. iBeacon plugin that could translate or that could be used within iOS. Sorry, not within iOS, but within Flutter. So there was no plugin. What we had to do is but there were plugin for Android. So what we did was we used that same plugin within our application, within at least the host application, and using the method channel, I called the Flutter methods, and the Flutter methods return the result from the Android library, and I string it back, or I sent back those information to my Flutter application. So this is like really useful feature that you would see. So any questions on method channels, guys? You guys have anything to ask? Anything need to be clarified? Okay. All right. Anything else? No? Okay. Let's move on to the next section, which is going to be something we call that would be really useful in any development, that is testing. Okay, we need to run automation testing. How are we going to test our application in Flutter? So we'll be demonstrating something that is interesting, that is end-to-end testing or automated testing. Of course, there are other testing theories out there, something like unit testing, integration testing. So I'm not going to go through unit testing or Android testing in this section, but I'll be focusing on end-to-end testing. So you guys need to find your own. what do you understand by unit testing, end-to-end testing, and all those things. Okay. Right now, I'm going to be using E2E testing for testing our application out and do some test automation in this scenario. So, anyone knows what why do we need testing? Any takers? Anyone knows? Why do we testing? What is the purpose of writing test cases in application? Yes? So, anyone? Mayura? Ashani? Okay. So normally we do test cases in order to verify our code whether it is doing the thing as it's expected. Okay. So you might say, okay, if it is working, that is working. That means it's working as expected, right? So no, there is not the simplest assumption. So when you're writing test cases, we normally don't check with what we call a happy path. We call the application in so many other ways, like when we call the happy path, we only call with something the values that we know. Okay, for example, let's say we in our application, in this battery level application, we click on this and it shows 45. Okay, so what will happen if I click this 10 times way faster? What will happen? Or maybe we if I have an input field where I can input a number or a string, what will happen if I put a very long string? What it would be the application behavior? And going such and such, what will happen is we will be testing out various different options, various different things. So we will ensure most of the test cases, it's not going to be everything that we can test. No, it's not possible. Most of the things that we do is working as expected. Okay. For most use case cases, like 90% of the time, if you do not have a weird system implementation or something like that, it will be working as expected. Okay, so that is going to be the purpose, one of the purposes that we write test cases. So one of the things that you guys need to do is figure out in Flutter we use different terminologies when it is coming to testing. So normally we have unit test, integration test, and end-to-end test. But in Flutter we use something a little bit different. So we have unit test, we have widget test, and we have integration test. Okay, so it's basically the same idea behind what we are encountering in unit test, end-to-end integration test, and end-to-end test, but we use different terminologies, and but the behavior most of the time they are similar. So unit test will be testing out a simple basic function. In widget test, we'll be testing out a whole widget, something like say for example this widget. Okay, we'll be testing out the whole this widget only. And for integration test, what we'll be testing is like a whole flow. We'll be doing like If you have a login screen, we'll be entering email address, password, and hit enter. That kind of thing we will do. Okay, so when we are writing these different test cases, we need to figure out um, what sort of things that we'll be testing, what sort of test cases we actually do. So for unit test, widget test, it is something most of the time what I believe is it's a developer's job. Okay, so the developer is responsible for writing unit test. The developer should write unit test and see whether his code is working as expected. Sometimes, most of the time, software engineers uh, they think like writing the application, writing the code is enough, but that is barely the truth. When we are writing an application, we need to make sure that we write test cases for it. Okay, without a test case, we can think, or we should consider the application as, or the code as what we called partial code. Okay, it's not the complete implementation. Not everything is done. So as a good developer, it's always good to have. It's a mandatory, of course, to have writing unit test and widget test in this scenario. But on end-to-end test, it's a little bit of trick. Sometimes when we are writing the whole flow, we need to check here and there. So sometimes people who are interested in test automating, they can write test automations. And once these test automations are done, what we can do is um, we can use um, these automation test cases to run known flows. Okay, so in our application, we don't have like a lot of things. We just have uh, so we have like a simple button click that is happening, but on most use cases, we have such other things. For example, we need to sign in, we need to click login, we need to go to profile, and we need to check some things that is